physically, do you feel like you could go play a game on Sunday?
I think we're gonna keep working. We got a couple more days to figure out. We're gonna do what's smart for myself and the team. But I hope so. I hope I can go help and contribute to a win somehow, some way.
Jalen Ramsey, newest member of the LA Rams, and you still have to sell that you had a back injury even after you've been traded and your back is magically cured. The Rams are helping him out. They listed him yesterday as fully participating in practice despite the back injury. There's no back injury. I'm not sure there ever was a back injury. At a minimum, it was grossly embellished, but it worked. He got what he wanted. He's now with the Rams. They go to Atlanta, and they need him, Big Cat. They got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. I think he plays, and I think the Rams win this one easily.
Yeah, I think the Rams win this one easily as well. It's a get-right game for the Rams, and I think Jared Goff's going to have a really nice day. The Falcons don't play defense. They don't play defense. Like, I actually don't think they even have defensive meetings during the week. If you watch them play against the Cardinals last week, there were stretches where it was just green grass everywhere. So this is a get-right game, and Jalen Ramsey, I mean, think about this. You could make the case that the Rams now have two top 5 guys, at least 2 guys that are maybe at the top of their position on defense. And so, especially the way they complement each other, where Jalen Ramsey can kind of eliminate the best guy on the other side of the ball, and Aaron Donald can get to the quarterback. Like, that's going to be nice for the Rams if they can figure it out on offense.
I'm going to be curious to see how they use him. Will they put him on Julio Jones all the time? Will they put him on Calvin Ridley and double Julio Jones? Or will they just put him on one side of the field and just assume that the ball's never going to that side of the field, whoever lines up over there? So it'll be interesting to see how he's used this week and beyond, because they may use him differently week in and week out. We'll see. But the other thing on the Falcons, Dan Quinn, he's got 2 games left. Rams and Seahawks at home. If he loses both of those, bye week comes next. And because Dan Quinn made himself the defensive coordinator, so he can't fire his defensive coordinator and blame it all on him. It's Dan Quinn. So I think the train's pulling into the station there. All right, Raiders at Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. 2 weeks for John Gruden to get ready, go back to the place where his coaching career as an NFL coach got started, 92 to 94. He was a member of that Mike Holmgren staff. And they have an opening now with Patrick Mahomes injured. If he misses some time, Raiders at 3-2. They beat the Bears. You saw what they can do. Can they do it at Lambeau Field with the Packers on a short week, feeling like they stole one on Monday night from the Lions?
Yeah, I got caught with my pants down thinking the Raiders were the Raiders of last year. I think this team is pretty talented, and I do think that they have some nice things they can do. They have a little bit of an identity. Their offensive line, a bunch of monsters, so they can run the ball. And that's really what when you're building a team up like this, if you can do one thing pretty well, it makes everything else a little bit easier, because you go into the game saying, this is our identity, this is what we want to do. And I think the Packers defense has shown to be, at times, a lot. We all got really excited, or I didn't get excited, but people got excited that the Packers finally have a defense. I don't know if it's as good as everyone's making out to be. I would, if I had to go with a straight-up pick, it's probably Packers, but I think the Raiders will stay within, I think it's a 6-point spread right now.
Sources close to me tell me that the line moved dramatically in the Raiders' direction this week. So somebody knows that the Raiders aren't nearly as bad as we would think. And I think a lot of that, the Raiders of last year, still hovers over how people look at this team. Look at what they did at Indy and against the Bears.
Yep.
After starting off 1-2, they have figured something out. And with Josh Jacobs, just run the ball,
Yep.
and set up some play-action passes and trust your defense to be able to slow down an offense. Big Cat, all the receivers are injured for the Packers. Devontae Adams is still out. Marquez Valdez-Scantling out. Geronimo Allison out. Jimmy Graham has an ankle injury. And Aaron Rodgers still has a knee that's limiting him in practice. So I think they're going to win this one straight up. I really do.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a nice pick by you. But the Raiders, they are like it was last year, and then it was that second quarter against the Chiefs. That is where the perception comes from. Because remember, the Raiders actually played the Chiefs well, except for that second quarter when Patrick Mahomes went absolutely insane on them and was scoring on every single play.
They did get dismantled week 3 at Minnesota somehow. I don't know how it happened, but it did happen, especially given how they've played since then. Well, speaking of Kirk Cousins, he heads to Detroit. This is one of those games where they probably shouldn't win. right? Even though they're a slight favorite, which is weird to me. Big spot on the road, division rival, their third road game against an NFC North team so far this year. Can Kirk Cousins and an offense that has generated 937 yards over the last 2 games continue against a Lions team that has got to be extremely salty after what happened on Monday night?
Yeah, I like the Lions here because it is one of those things where I think they believe in Matt Patricia now. I think the bounce back will be nice from a game they should have had in Green Bay, which would have kind of changed the scope of the NFC North as it sits right now. The reason why the Vikings are favored here is I don't know how the Lions are going to be able to run the football. So this is a Matt Stafford game. Will Matt Stafford be able to win this game with his arm? And, I mean, I think it's going to be a very ugly, tight game. I think it's going to be low scoring, and I'll take the Lions. But you're so down on Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is great. I think they should give him a contract extension. He won that big game against the Eagles.
Yeah, okay. Look, I know how this season's going to go, and I have it mapped out already. 7-7 going into the last 2 games. A Monday night game against the Packers, a game against your Bears that following Sunday. They don't win they don't win maybe both. They definitely don't win both games, and they won't be in the playoffs. But this is one of the games that will prove my theory wrong because I have them losing at Detroit. We'll see if they can pull it off, and I have to wear a Kirk Cousins jersey next Thursday, apparently, if the Vikings win. I did not specify which Kirk Cousins jersey, though. I'm going to find a Washington Kirk Cousins jersey because next Thursday, by the way, Washington at Minnesota, the Kirk Cousins revenge game. Texans at the Colts, round 1 of the AFC South Championship, in large part because the Titans and the Jaguars are both 2-4. I tell you what, we forgot about the Colts because they were off last week, but the last time we saw them, they were beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and the last time we saw the Texans, they were beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Texans traditionally have struggled in Indy. This could be a very, very good game. I like the Colts by a little bit, but I could see it go either way.
Yeah, I like the Colts too, and you're right. We totally forgot about them because that bye week came after that big win against Kansas City when they were 11-point underdogs on Sunday Night Football. And they did better against the Chiefs than the Texans did last week, yet somehow we were like, oh, the Texans are that much better than the Colts. I think these two teams are pretty even, and I would take the Colts off a bye. And I am super impressed with Frank Reich as a head coach, and I think that everything they've done this year, they need more credit for losing Andrew Luck right before the season starts and sitting here 3-2. And if they win this game, they'd be 4-2. And I don't know the standings, but I would assume, they would be in first place in the AFC South. Who would have thought that halfway through October after losing Andrew Luck? So I like what the Colts are doing, and they need a lot of credit, and I'll take the Colts.
And this is one of those, in my mind, home team gets the edge. If they were playing in Houston, I probably would take the Texans. And Deshaun Watson has been phenomenal, and he may be one of the leading candidates now, and he is one of the leading candidates for MVP. If Patrick Mahomes is out for an extended stretch, if he's hampered when he returns, it may come down to Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. All right, 49ers heading to Washington. Now, ordinarily, I would say this is a potential correction game for the 49ers. But Kyle Shanahan is still so mad about his time in Washington and what they did to him and what they did to his dad, Mike Shanahan. And he made the comment earlier this week about Washington. I think that the 49ers are going to destroy Washington on Sunday.
I agree with you. And on top of that, when you have a win, the Redskins won last week. When you have a team 1-5 going against a team like the 49ers, I think the 1-5 team can hang if it's played through the air. They can't hang when it's run the ball down your throat, because if we know anything about the NFL, when guys are out there and they got nothing to play for and they're just getting bodied and manhandled, the 49ers are going to take it to them and going to take it to them early and often.
Yeah, and this may be a game, too, where if they get a big lead, it's a chance for Kyle Shanahan to kind of, go a little deeper into the playbook, show some different looks to give future opponents things to think about. It's almost like a mid-season, preseason game where you can lay the foundation for what you might or might not be doing later in the year. And it becomes cat and mouse. If they're toying with the Washington defense the way that I think they will, and I think it's going to be ugly, I'm shocked that the line is only 9.5 points.
Yep, I agree. Take the Niners easy. I believe in the Niners now. I'm a full believer in the 49ers.
Well, you're not allowed to be. Richard Sherman says if you didn't believe in the 49ers before the season, you're not allowed to change your mind now. You have to continue to assume that they're not going to be very good, even though they're demonstrating to us week in and week out that they're great. That's Richard Sherman's rule, not mine.
Richard Sherman also said that Baker Mayfield disrespected him and didn't shake his hand, and then we saw a billion angles of Baker Mayfield shaking his hand. So I'm not taking what Richard Sherman says.
He's ready to go. There's maybe a couple different things terminology-wise that he's got to get used to, and he said he'd let me know by Friday if he's ready to go the whole thing. And I said, well, just lie to me and tell me that you are, and then we'll just go play.
That's Kenny Powers, who retired from baseball to become a football coach. Actually, Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. They have Marcus Peters. That was the first domino that got everyone's attention about a Jalen Ramsey trade to the Rams. Peters in Baltimore, and they need him. They need help in the secondary. They've had a lot of injuries. I assume he's going to play. One of the best games of the day, Baltimore Ravens at the Seattle Seahawks. A couple of MVP candidates in Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. This one, the defenses aren't great. The offenses are. This could become an interesting back and forth, maybe high-scoring type of a game, Big Cat.
Mike Florio just gave you his mortal lock. It's the over. The Ravens are a fraudulent team until they win one of these next two games. I've laid it out for Ravens fans. I've had a back and forth this week. I like Lamar Jackson. I think their defense is suspect. If they win at Seattle or next week against the Patriots, I will officially start taking the Ravens for real. Until that happens, I'm putting the fraud tag on them.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't disagree with that take, because you look at what they've done. Okay, they blew out the Dolphins. Big deal. They beat the Cardinals by 6. They just beat the Bengals by 6. They lost at home to the Browns. And that win over the Chiefs in hindsight, that loss to the Chiefs in hindsight, where it looked kind of close, but it really wasn't, that's less impressive now that the Chiefs have lost 2 games at home to the Colts and the Texans. So I think I'm with you on this. Although they've got a 2-game lead in the AFC North, I don't think they're as good as the hype would suggest, because we're caught up in Lamar Jackson, and he is playing great. But the other concern is, at some point, he's going to get injured. You can't take all those hits and not at some point be unable to get up. It's just basic physics. It's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers told Lamar Jackson back in the preseason, slide. We see Rodgers always do it. We never see Lamar Jackson do it. And it's almost like RG3 when he was a rookie. Just took the hits until against the Ravens, he took the hit that ultimately derailed his career, Big Cat.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson doesn't get hit like RG3 did, and he's a little bit better with his body, but I still believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really do. I think the Steelers, they play the Colts and the Dolphins coming up. The Ravens have the Patriots and the Seahawks. This could be 4-4 pretty quickly. This could be 4-4.
You're not upset? Whoa. I thought you'd be upset with the Steelers because they're sending your guy Duck Hodges back to the bench.
That's okay. Duck's fine. Duck will be ready for whenever he needs to come back in. But I think the Steelers' defense is kind of rounding into form, and they have a little bit of a nobody believes in us. So I think that's going to be the race in the AFC North. And listen, if the Ravens win on Sunday, I will absolutely put my hand up and say I was wrong. I'm taking this team for real. I think they're better than I gave them credit for. But I have to see it. I have to see it against a good opponent, a playoff caliber opponent, before I really believe it with Baltimore.
Yeah, I like the Seahawks in this one. I don't think the Ravens are going to pull it off. Eagles-Cowboys Sunday Night Football on NBC. Both are 3-3. They both need this win badly. Who do you like?
I love the Eagles in this game. I think the Cowboys, I love the Eagles in this game. I think the Cowboys are teetering on the edge here, Mike, and their offensive line is banged up. I don't know. I think they're going to have a couple starters out again. Amari Cooper might not play. I think the Cowboys are right on that line where it's like, is this going to go south on us? And the Eagles are a team that bounces back well. They got embarrassed by the Vikings. They got embarrassed by Kirk Cousins. I trust Doug Peterson in this game more than Jason Garrett. I think the Eagles are going to win this game.
But see, last year the Cowboys were 3-5 going into a Sunday night game at Philadelphia, and the same storm clouds were gathering over Jason Garrett, and there was talk that if they got blown out, he was going to be fired. Then they won 7 of their last 8 games, and it began with that win at Philadelphia. That's what swayed me to think at home the Cowboys can pull this one off. I think, the Eagles have injury issues as well, and until they get Deshaun Jackson back, that offense isn't going to be everything that it can be. There may be some consternation in the locker room that they didn't make a more aggressive play for Jalen Ramsey. I just think that the Cowboys find a way, despite Jason Garrett, who may not be there next year, but at least he'll be there next week because I think they're going to get right and get to 4-3. That doesn't mean they're going to win the division, and I think only one team out of the NFC East is going to the playoffs, so they're going to keep battling week in and week out, but I think for now it's going to be the Cowboys. All right, we got to get to your team. The Chicago Bears, back after a bye week, that ugly loss to the Raiders, 13-play, 97-yard drive that was decisive against the defense that was supposedly as good as the 85 Bears. In come the Saints at 5-1, but they are banged up, Big Cat. I like your team in this one. I think the Saints are too injured offensively, and I think the Bears are going to be too upset over what happened in London, and they're going to be back at the scene of that destruction of the Vikings. I think they're going to be fine against the Saints.
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to win this game. It's one of those ones where the Saints don't need the game, the Bears do, and that usually goes the way of the team that needs the game in the NFL. I think it's going to be an ugly game, though, Mike. I don't see the Bears' offense doing much against a very good, underrated Saints defense, and vice versa. I don't know if the Saints have any weapons to beat the Bears' defense with some of the injuries they have on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm thinking a low-scoring game, but the Bears are going to take the approach they did in Denver week 2, where they're just going to win any way possible. It doesn't matter about style points. It doesn't matter about throwing downfield with Mitch Trubisky. It's all about getting a win, getting to 4-2, and then reassessing going forward.
Yeah, and they're going to have a fight week in and week out to get a playoff berth this year because they're already chasing the Packers. They lost to them at home. And there are so many good second-place teams in the NFC. Those wild card berths are going to be hard to come by.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.